Hey there, science fans! Today we're diving into the exciting world of titration, a fundamental technique in chemistry. Imagine you have a solution, but you don't know how strong it is. That's where titration comes in. Titration is like a detective game where we carefully add one solution to another to figure out the unknown concentration of a substance. It's like solving a puzzle, but instead of puzzle pieces, we use chemicals. Think of it like making the perfect cup of lemonade. You add lemon juice until it tastes just right, not too sour, not too sweet. In titration, we add a solution drop by drop until we reach a point where the reaction is complete. This point is called the equivalence point, and it's the key to unlocking the unknown concentration. So get ready to put on your lab coats and grab your beakers because we're about to embark on a titration adventure. Let's start with the most common type of titration, acid-base titration. Remember acids and bases from school? Acids are like lemon juice, sour and tangy, while bases are like soap, slippery and bitter. When they react, they neutralize each other, just like when you mix baking soda and vinegar for a volcano eruption. In acid-base titration, we use a known concentration of either an acid or a base to determine the unknown concentration of the other. For example, let's say we want to find out the concentration of acetic acid in vinegar. We would take a known volume of vinegar and slowly add a solution of sodium hydroxide, a base, of known concentration to it. As we add the base, it reacts with the acetic acid, neutralizing it. We keep adding the base drop by drop until we reach the equivalence point, where all the acetic acid has reacted with the base. But how do we know when we've reached the equivalence point? We use an indicator, a special substance that changes color when the solution reaches a certain pH. In this case, we could use phenolphthalein, which turns pink when the solution becomes slightly basic, indicating that all the acid has been neutralized. Redox titration is all about electrons. Remember those tiny particles that zoom around atoms? In redox reactions, electrons are transferred from one substance to another. One substance loses electrons, oxidation, while the other gains electrons, reduction. It's like a game of electron hot potato. In redox titration, we use a solution of known concentration that can donate or accept electrons to determine the concentration of an unknown solution that can do the opposite. For example, we can use potassium permanganate, a strong oxidizing agent, to determine the concentration of iron 2 ions in a solution. When potassium permanganate is added to a solution containing iron 2 ions, the permanganate ions, MnO4, oxidize the iron 2 ions, Fe2+, to iron 3 ions, Fe3+, while the permanganate ions themselves are reduced to manganese 2 ions, Mn2+. The reaction can be represented by the following equation. MnO4 plus 5 Fe2+ plus 8H+ yields Mn2+ plus 5 Fe3+ plus 4 H2O. As the reaction proceeds, the purple color of the permanganate solution fades until all the iron 2 ions are oxidized. At the equivalence point, the solution retains a faint pink color from the slight excess of permanganate ions. Precipitation titration is like a magic trick. We mix two solutions and suddenly, a solid appears out of nowhere. This solid is called a precipitate, and it forms when two ions in the solution react to form an insoluble compound. In precipitation titration, we use a solution of known concentration that can react with the analyte to form a precipitate. By measuring the volume of the titrant required to completely react with the analyte, we can determine its concentration. For instance, we can determine the concentration of chloride ions, Cl, in a solution by titrating it with a solution of silver nitrate, AgNO3 of known concentration. Silver chloride, AgCl, is a white precipitate that forms when silver ions, Ag+, react with chloride ions. The reaction can be represented by the following equation. Ag+ plus Cl yields AgCls. As we add the silver nitrate solution to the chloride solution, a white precipitate of silver chloride forms. We continue adding the silver nitrate solution until no more precipitate forms, indicating that all the chloride ions have reacted. Section 5. Complexometric titration trapping metal ions. Complexometric titration is like playing molecular Lego. We use special molecules called chelating agents that can grab onto metal ions like tiny claws, forming stable complexes. In complexometric titration, we use a solution of a chelating agent of known concentration to determine the concentration of metal ions in a solution. The chelating agent forms a complex with the metal ions, and we continue adding the chelating agent until all the metal ions are complexed. One common chelating agent is ethylenediamine-tetraacetic acid, or EDTA, a large molecule with multiple claws that can bind to metal ions. For example, we can use EDTA to determine the concentration of calcium ions in hard water. The reaction between EDTA and calcium ions can be represented by the following equation. Calcium ions plus EDTA forms a calcium eta complex. As we add the EDTA solution to the calcium solution, the EDTA molecules trap the calcium ions, forming a stable complex. We continue adding the EDTA solution until all the calcium ions are complexed. Section 6. Gearing up for titration essential equipment. Before we start our titration adventure, we need the right tools for the job. Here's a list of essential equipment for titration. 1. The burette, a long graduated glass tube with a stopcock at the bottom, used to accurately measure and deliver the titrant. 2. The pipette, a graduated glass tube used to accurately measure and transfer a specific volume of the analyte solution. 3. The Erlenmeyer flask, a conical flask used to hold the analyte solution during titration. Its shape helps prevent splashing. 4. The volumetric flask, a flask with a precise volume marking, used to prepare solutions of known concentration. 5. The indicator, a substance that changes color at a specific pH, indicating the endpoint of the titration. 6. The stirrer, a magnetic stirrer or a glass rod used to mix the solutions during titration. 7. The wash bottle, a bottle filled with distilled water, used to rinse the sides of the flask and the burette during titration. 8. Safety goggles, essential for protecting your eyes from chemical splashes. Section 7. Step-by-step titration, from setup to success. Now that we have our equipment ready, let's go through the step-by-step process of conducting a titration experiment. 1. Prepare the solutions accurately. Prepare solutions of the titrant and the analyte of known concentrations using volumetric flasks. 2. Rinse the burette. Rinse the burette with distilled water and then with a small amount of the titrant solution to avoid contamination. 3. Fill the burette. Fill the burette with the titrant solution above the 0 mark, and then drain it slowly to the 0 mark, ensuring that the tip of the burette is filled and there are no air bubbles. 4. Measure the analyte. Using a pipette, accurately measure a specific volume of the analyte solution and transfer it into the Erlenmeyer flask. 5. Add the indicator. Add a few drops of the appropriate indicator to the analyte solution in the flask. The indicator will change color at the end point of the titration. 6. Start titrating. Slowly add the titrant solution from the burette to the analyte solution in the flask while stirring continuously. The titrant should be added dropwise as the endpoint is approached. 7. Observe the color change. Carefully observe the color of the solution in the flask. The endpoint is reached when the indicator changes color permanently. 8. Record the volume. Note the final volume reading on the burette. This is the volume of the titrant required to reach the endpoint. 9. Repeat the titration. Repeat the titration at least 2 more times to ensure accuracy and calculate the average volume of the titrant used. Section 8. Calculating the unknown. Unveiling the solution's secret. We've successfully completed our titration experiment, but the journey's not over yet. Now, we need to analyze our data and calculate the unknown concentration of the analyte. To determine the concentration of the analyte, we can use the following formula: M1V1 equals M2V2, where M1 is the molarity or concentration of the titrant solution, V1 is the volume of the titrant solution used, M2 is the molarity or concentration of the analyte solution, and V2 is the volume of the analyte solution used. By plugging in the known values from our experiment, we can solve for the unknown concentration M2 of the analyte. For example, let's say we titrated 25 milliliters of an unknown hydrochloric acid solution with 0.100 molar sodium hydroxide solution, and it took 30 milliliters of the sodium hydroxide solution to reach the endpoint. Using the formula above, we can calculate the concentration of the hydrochloric acid solution. 0.100 molar times 30 milliliters equals M2 times 25 milliliters. Solving for M2, we get M2 equals 0.100 molar times 30 milliliters divided by 25 milliliters, which equals 0.120 molar. Therefore, the concentration of the hydrochloric acid solution is 0.120 molar. Section 9. Titration in action, real-world applications. Titration is not just a laboratory technique, it plays a crucial role in various real-world applications, including 1. Environmental monitoring, determining the concentration of pollutants in water and soil samples. 2. The food industry, analyzing the acidity of beverages, the content of vitamins in food products, and the quality of edible oils. 3. The pharmaceutical industry, determining the concentration of active ingredients in medications and ensuring the quality of pharmaceutical products. 4. Medical diagnostics, analyzing blood and urine samples to diagnose and monitor medical conditions. 5. Chemical manufacturing, controlling and optimizing chemical processes by monitoring the concentration of reactants and products. From monitoring our environment to ensuring the quality of our food and medicine, titration plays a vital role in our everyday lives. So the next time you see a bottle of vinegar or a pack of antacids, remember the science of titration that helps ensure their quality and effectiveness.